Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Xbox Factor podcast. I am one of your hosts, MrBooMStickXL, and I have a new co-host for the day. We all know him as the showrunner from the Saltiest Gaming podcast, which I will be a guest this evening. Please welcome Salty. What's going on, dude?
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to, I wouldn't say in another episode. This is one of my first times being here. I guess it's my second time being here, but I'm glad to be here and talk some good old Xbox gaming news. This is the Salty and Boom Marathon, apparently, starting yesterday. So we're going to be going, this morning. And then tonight, you can join us on the Salty's Gaming podcast. It is going to be an awesome couple of hours.
Yeah, I mean, it's always great when we get together. I really believe that we have a good chemistry. Again, I say it all the time. You know, you're the salt shaker. I'm the guy with unicorns and rainbows all day long. And somehow or another, we come out at the end being good podcasters. But real quick, just want to give everyone a show update. The Welsh gamer is currently on holiday with his beautiful and awesome family. He will be back next week in his regular chair. But you know what? Let's get into the topics because we have a lot to discuss. For topic number one, a rumor recently popped up that the Xbox will announce another studio acquisition this month during Inside Xbox. And it looks like the rumors of the more studio acquisitions in 2019 are starting to come true. And that has me excited through and through because obviously the Xbox has no games. And now that we have developers, well, folks, I guess we're going to have games. This month's Inside Xbox is poised to feature Age of Empires and the developer Relic Entertainment, who promises some very exciting announcements. Now, look, in the past, the Inside Xbox, it's a show that some people will take, some people will leave, and some people feel, mid-range about it. I look forward to it because guess what? It's the only Xbox show that you're going to get in prime time. And sometimes, even though they could be corny, especially Major Nelson, the shows do have, put out some good information. Like the Crackdown 3 episode, I thought was fantastic. I really enjoyed the Terry Crews interview. They do things like that. Every now and again, they do get it right. Well, look, here's the thing. Many have assumed said announcements are nothing more than Age of Empires related, but a source known for their scoops in relations to Microsoft Studios is hinting that it's going to be more than that. And our good friend, who does not consider himself an inside Xboxer, which is ridiculous, Clobriel had leaked, has said that Relic Entertainment is going to be the next studio purchase for Microsoft. Now, Salty, here's the thing. I sent you the picture that he did of where it says Xbox Game Studios, and right next to it with a line, it says Relic. It looks perfect. It sounds perfect. But in your opinion, why do you think that getting Relic would be good for the Xbox brand moving forward?
Well, first of all, the writing was on the wall. A couple years ago at Gamescom, they were dressing up for Age of Empires and all this other stuff, right? Greeny was doing that. He had the whole outfit on. And a lot of people got triggered from that because they're like, well, why are you talking about this PC game when this is console? We're a console situation. This is before all this other news came out about their, the plans. I think it makes sense because there's a good relationship there. A lot of the people, the executives, have fond memories with Age of Empire. It's a very popular PC title, and it draws in a lot of PC players. I know in the DMs you talked about how it makes sense for Xbox gamers, and I'll get to that potentially. But I think with Microsoft's direction, they're trying to actually tap the PC market, believe it or not. Like, they're trying to foster a better relationship with their PC audience. And that kind of extends out beyond just the console market. The Windows Store sucks. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but it's pretty horrible, you know? Phil Spencer himself talked about it. They need to address the Windows Store. Like, if you look at their competitors, you look at Steam, you look at Epic. The Epic Game Store just started up, and they're actually kind of killing it because they're approaching the business in a cutthroat manner. They're putting exclusives on there. Metro was an exclusive they got on there, kind of triggered some PC dudes from Steam and stuff like that. So Microsoft is trying to foster that relationship because it's kind of been not so good. Not a lot of people want to purchase games on the Windows Store, and et cetera, et cetera. So if you get a popular title like this, a developer that has history with PC gamers, I think it fosters that relationship. In addition to that, mouse and keyboard support has been added to Xbox One. So it's just a matter of time before we start seeing these titles start pouring over a majority of titles that were only on PC and then starting to make their way over on the Xbox console. And that's just a good thing for gamers because it's more options and more games. I don't think it's ever a bad thing to have more options. Do you, Boom?
No, I actually think it's fantastic. Look, here's the thing, okay? The problem with a lot of older gamers, and we're in that circle, is we grew up in a closed garden mentality. What do I mean by that? Well, when you played on Nintendo games were from Nintendo. Like, you know what I'm saying? Sega games were on the Genesis. TurboGrafx 16 games were on the TurboGrafx. And we grew up with that mentality all the way through up until just recently. And for a lot of people in the community, they just cannot wrap their heads around, PC games coming to the Xbox. Oh, wait a second. How dare you? That's impossible. Don't put your chocolate in my peanut butter. I will not have it. Listen,
Yep.
More games give people more opportunities. And we're not going to jump into Game Pass right now. That's a topic coming up later on. But if you look at what Game Pass has done, it has opened the eyes of so many gamers to so many games that you would have overlooked. And that's the same thing with this, PC is Xbox, Xbox is PC, okay? All we need for the for the Xbox brand is, the RTS just needs to get a foothold in the door. Just one foot. It could be a toe, not even a whole foot. Age of Empires is a very extremely popular IP. And I think it would be considered foolhardy, Salty, if someone would actually say, well, wait a second, that's a PC RTS. I don't want it on my Xbox. I think you're kind of closed-minded. What do you think about that?
Yeah, like, man, I was just thinking about this. Halo Wars 2, when they dropped that, man, can you imagine if they waited on that and that came out when mouse and keyboard was implemented on Xbox?
Dude, yeah.
It would have been better received, and I think it would have done a lot better. And I think that, when people close themselves off to these old ways and old thought processes, it's just kind of, I don't know, it's hard to see because I myself, I just don't really mind it too much. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it doesn't matter where I'm gaming as long as I have access to those games, and it doesn't matter if it's on PC or mobile or this and that, or, but it's interesting looking. I could see where people are coming from because they kind of are set in their ways, and it's hard for human beings to accept change in general. Change is difficult for human beings. They like consistency, and when things change, it kind of ruffles the feathers, So I don't know. We're going to start to see a lot more PC titles head on over, and I think that's going to be a cool thing. I think we might see some things like maybe League of Legends or Dota or, like World of Warcraft or something like that. Once those start coming over, then I don't know. People might stop complaining, I guess, because RTS is kind of that niche genre. So not a lot of people will get excited about that. What about Gears Tactics?
Dude.
Yeah.
Let me just say this, okay? I was so beside myself in anger that I could not, the idea that I would not be able to play a Gears game on my home console of the Xbox One X blew my mind. Thankfully, the rights of the of this travesty of justice were fixed, and I kind of knew it anyway because I mean, think about that. A Gears of War game was birthed onto the Xbox 360. If it wouldn't, if tactics would have never come, it'd have been ridiculous. But again, RTS is a niche genre, okay? There's a lot of strategy. There's a lot of, there's some patience involved. You have to be very strategic about where you put your units, how you make them. I actually find that kind of resource management great because it gives you a stressful but satisfying kind of a feel when you're able to pull something off. Salty, I mean, look, again, anyone that's here in the chat, anyone's going to listen to this show later on, if you're in the camp where you say, I don't want this game because it's this, I got news for you. You're going to be very disappointed come 2020 because gaming, as we know it, and Salty, you've talked about this on your show, is changing, and there's just no stopping it. You're just going to have to accept it.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say, Salty.
Real quick, Silverback says, but why buy an Xbox then? So there's a lot of people in the community, specifically content creators like Dealer Gaming and Colt Eastwood. They have very powerful computers. I myself just recently got a computer that's pretty powerful that can run PC games and stuff like that. Why buy an Xbox then? It's the console experience. It's hard to explain. You know what I'm saying? It's different. The console experience for me is just it's separate from a PC experience. Like my PC is in my office. I have a desk chair. It's it's not where it's in my living room. Excuse me. Or I could get on my couch and, settle down there and hop in a party chat. I know you can do most of the things on PC. It's just, I like my console experience, and that's why I have an Xbox, if that makes sense. So,
no, I actually want to, I want to just kind of address, because first of all, Silverback, I think you're new. I've never seen you before. At least if I missed you, I apologize. I want to say welcome. This is a welcoming channel. Everyone that walks through the door gets a hug. That's just the way it works. Okay. I see what you're saying. You're saying if you can play Microsoft games on a toaster, an Xbox becomes irrelevant. Well, here's the thing, my friend. Okay. Why that's a wrong statement, and I'm not saying that you're not entitled to your opinion. My goodness, my friend, take your opinion and go crazy with it. That's completely understood. But you have to understand that there is a significant difference in convenience from the console experience to your PC experience. Yeah, sure, PC is going to let you unlock frame rates and play at the best fidelity possible. But in doing so, you're opening yourself up to a lot of pain in the ass little things. Oh, this is not working. I have to download a driver for this. The sound card stopped working. The frame rate that was unlocked is now locked. I don't know why. I'm a console guy. I want to download a game digitally onto my hard drive or pop in a disc. I still do that and play. And if there's an update, the system is going to tell me, boom, there's an update, and it updates it all by itself like magic. So I understand your point of view, but you also have to understand you may be tech savvy. You may be this computer guy that knows the ins and outs of a 1080. I don't. Okay. And if you do, good on you with that knowledge. But you can't turn around and say that the Xbox is going to become irrelevant because you can play games everywhere. I think that console war tidbit kind of lost everything it had holding it up when Sony announced that in the new firmware that you're going to be able to play all of your PS4 games on iOS and Apple products via streaming. So I mean, we're not going to get into that, Salty. We're going to talk about that tonight on your show. Yeah. But I mean that if you're a Sony dude, I just want you to give you the heads up. Your list war stuff gone completely out because Sony's doing it too. But you know what? Let's get back to the topic at hand here. And the topic at hand is more studios. Now, we know that we know Inside Xbox is coming. We know that Age of Empires is going to be there in a big way. I think it's safe to say, Salty, that we're gonna expect an announcement of not only it coming to the Xbox One, not only supporting mouse and keyboard, we may even say, hey, listen, they figured out controller controls, because guess what? They did it for Halo Wars 2 and it worked perfectly. But the announcement of getting that studio, who is an excellent studio, as another first-party developer is a big deal. Now, I want to segue into the topic 2, which kind of deals with this. You know, keeping with the studios being acquired by Microsoft, you know, this talk has intensified in the last couple of weeks, thanks to Xbox Insider Clobriel. And he kept tweeting hashtag 20 in 2020. So you say, well, what the hell does that mean, Boom? Well, if you've been listening to me for a while, you'll know, at least in the last couple of weeks or so, we've been bringing it up. Apparently, there are some serious rumors that inside people have heard that that Microsoft will in fact have 20 first-party developers by 2020. And all I can say is, holy shit, if that's true. Because you know what? Again, this generation, Sony dictated it. There's no denying it. But we're not here to talk about Sony. We're here to talk about how Phil Spencer and those incredible brains at Redmond turned the ship around. And if you are an Xbox fan, if you were beaten down and your one arm is hanging on the rope, look up, stand up, and be proud that you support this brand, because guess what? They're coming back in a big way, and 2020, which is the start of the next generation, is going to be entirely different than what we've experienced through 2013 through now. Okay. Now, my question to you, Salty, you know, obviously you are very, very vocal on Twitter, and you will come at someone strong if you need to be, and I've seen you do it.
Yeah.
The console war shenanigans, I can't stand. Okay, I support all 3 consoles. I'm so proud to do it. I'm so extremely blessed and fortunate to do it. But at the same time, Xbox is where I lay my head. So of course, I want to see the brand that I love the most do the best. Nothing wrong with that. What are your takes on the fact or the possibility of Microsoft having 20 first-party studios by 2020?
I think it just makes sense because Game Pass is the focal point of the company, in addition to expanding the brand globally and reaching billions of gamers. It's just part of the plan, and you need to have those first-party studios in effect. It's kind of like Netflix. We always go back and talk about Netflix, but it's the model. You know, you got to have the ability to control your content, because ultimately when you outsource your content, you got to pay for licensing and you got to make deals, and the consistency with the product isn't there, and all this other stuff. But when you control the studios and you know that they're in the fold, you can count on consistency, quality. You control the content. It can stay in your portfolio. You don't have to rotate it out. Because a prime example of this on Netflix is the Marvel series. So they had those series, and they had to pay to get them on there, and ultimately it got too costly, and then they had to cancel them. Even if they were doing good and they were popular, it just didn't make sense for them business wise. So ultimately they canned a lot of popular shows. So that if you take that ideologically, you know, you take that over and you put that into effect with Xbox, they want to make sure that they don't have to close out some of these games and rotate them out and stuff like that. So they want to drop these titles in their day and date. So it only makes sense that you expand your portfolio and you have content on a regular basis. Ideally, you want to drop content every month. And if you could have first party offerings every month, that'd be outstanding, you know? So it only makes sense to me because it's just part of their plan, you know? So they're going to expand as much as they need to make sure that they have that content for the consumer base, you know?
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. You know, obviously, you know, I have been very vocal this generation of my distaste for the way that Microsoft handled their first party. I mean, listen, they've had plenty of good games. They've had plenty of great games, depending on who you ask. I thought Sunset Overdrive was great. I thought, you know, plenty, you know, obviously, you know, say what you want about Forza just being another racer. It's a great racing series. In fact, it is the premier racing series on this box. And you can't deny that. But at the same time, there's been a lot of shortcomings. Moving on with this topic, first of all, I have to say two big shout outs. Harry Heck drops a $10 super chat, and thanks so much for that. That is extremely kind of you. He says, what's the point to buy an Xbox 2 and a mid-gen updated Xbox 2X for around $1,000 when just get a PC for the same amount of money will be fine all the next generation, and connect that PC to your UHTV. Well, again, dude, listen, again, it's not saying that you're wrong. I would never say that. You're entitled to your opinion, but at the same time, I want you to understand that some people enjoy the console experience. It's a simplistic experience. Yeah. That's really what it comes down to. It's plug and play. Pop your disc in or hit the download button and press play, and it's done. PCs, as great as they are, as fun as they could be for some people who are technologically advanced enough to build their own rigs and to be able to find all the issues that are going to come with owning a PC, playing a game. If you can do that, then you're a hell of a lot smarter than BoomStick is, but it's not the way I enjoy playing my games. I don't understand why that's a foreign concept. Again, dude, I'm not picking on you. I'm just saying I'm answering your question. You're asking why not just get a $1,000 PC, and I'm telling you because you want to call me a simpleton, that's fine. I'm a console guy. I've been a console guy since '78. It's what I enjoy playing. I had a super powered Alienware laptop that you could play fantastic games on. Guess how many times I used it? A dozen if I was lucky, because I don't game on PC. I have a 65-inch TV. What the hell do I want to game on a 17-inch screen or have to stream it over? It's too much work for me. If you like it, hey, man, good on you. But Salty, I have two very important questions I'd like to ask. First, with the hashtag 20 in 2020, what 3 studios would you like to see become a part of the Microsoft Game Studios?
Okay, so I have Studio MDHR.
Nice.
Moon Studios, and then 4A would be the other one. So,
nice one, dude. Yep. Excellent. Those are really, really strong picks. You stole one of mine, which is okay.
Sorry about that.
For me, first and foremost is I'd love to see them acquire Team Ninja, known for DOA and their ridiculous DLC pricing, but at the same time, they're also known for Ninja Gaiden. And obviously, Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2 were, of course, OG Xbox titles that completely redesigned the action game genre. I mean, limbs flying all over the place, giant boss battles, tough as nails difficulty. It was actually the original Souls before there was a Souls. Their boss battles, you had to be really strategic on how you took them on. And, obviously, there've been a few more Ninja Gaidens, and we won't talk about those because, we're going to pretend those don't exist. I would love to see them get this studio because it would be great to have an exclusive reboot, if you will, of Ninja Gaiden. The second one, I'm right there with Salty. 4A Game Studios is, look, Salty, your review was ridiculously awesome for Metro. You talked about all the good points. I just beat it the other day. A fantastic 30-plus hour romp. Well worth your time. Is it going to come to Game Pass in a couple of months? It might, so you might want to hold out. But I think it's even on sale. I highly recommend it. I know Salty does as well. And the third one, and this may be unpopular, but I don't give a shit because it's my show. I'm going to say I'd like to see them pick up Sumo Digital. And you say, well, wait a second. They just released Crackdown 3 and it was terrible. Well, I'm here to tell you that Crackdown 3 was not terrible. As a matter of fact, it was amazing. And, the game suffered lots of people touching the dough. And when you have too many chefs in the kitchen, what happens, Salty? You ruin the broth or the pizza, whichever you're making. So I say sign Sumo Digital, get them as a first party, give them all the resources they need, and let them make a Crackdown 4 that will shut everyone up. End of story. And the second question that I have for you, again, you might have addressed it. I'm going to ask it. I might have asked it out of order. In your opinion, Salty, how important is it for the Microsoft brand, the brand itself, having 21st party studios cranking out content in the form of AAA big ones, of course, and something that seems to be missing from this generation? And that, of course, I'm talking about is the AA studios. We know how great indies are, right? Indies are fantastic. They you hear these stories. Oh, two guys did this in their mom's garage, and it's a hit, right? I love hearing stories about that. And then, of course, you hear, well, this game cost $900 million to make. We have to make a profit somehow. DLC, right? So in between these two monsters, the AA studios have been squeezed out. We don't really see too much of that. A lot of these smaller studios that Microsoft is picking up has the potential to add this AA series of games to something like Game Pass. Is that important?
It's very important because where do you think some of these AAA studios come from or
Hello.
start?
Thank you.
So, like Naughty Dog, for example, were they always Naughty Dog? No, they weren't. I mean, everybody gets their start somewhere, and I think a lot of the strategy, it's part and parcel for this Netflix a gaming thing. But also, if you're Microsoft, if you buy some of these studios when they're smaller and you give them the funds and they end up blossoming into this AAA studio that's very popular and very renowned, that's a win-win for them and for you. So it's important to give these AA's a chance because, like I said before, they can expand into big AAA developers. They got to start somewhere. So I think quality and quantity both need to go hand in hand because I don't want them just snatching up any studio left and right because let's be honest, some of the studios that they acquired, some of them aren't going to be making console games. In Exile probably won't be making console games. We talked about this on the Saltiest Gaming podcast because a lot of people point to how many studios are acquired, but they're not all AAA type studios, and then you look at some of the offerings from the other studios, and it's just, there's very specific studios that can put out AAA content at this point. You're talking about Playground can do it. The new studio that they started, but those AA's are important as well. And even single A titles are important for Netflix because you can't just have all AAA titles, So as long as they're quality titles and they're putting out quality content, I don't really care necessarily how big the studio is. I just want a quality game to come out, if that makes sense, So
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, look, the fact I even have to talk about this is actually sickening.
Yeah.
I thought, Salty, that the whole point of picking up a goddamn controller to play a game was to have what? #fun. Some people use this to get away from their lives that suck. Some people have tough jobs, tough lives at home. This is their way. This is their escapism, if you will. When you take the fun out of gaming, and look, there's plenty of people in the chat that are new here, okay? And like I said to the other guy earlier, you're welcome. You're welcome to come here, hang out, have a laugh or two. But I'm giving you the fucking heads up right now. If you're gonna be a dick, I'm gonna ban you. Okay. Now I'm not gonna name names. I know there's at least 3 of them who've come back before and were dicks then. I'm letting you know now. This is a place of peace and happiness. It's unicorns and rainbows all day long. If you can't get with that program, then this show is not for you. Your opinion matters. Just don't be a dick about it. But with that said, Salty, I want to continue with the topic.
Yeah.
The fun part of gaming should be paramount. And it does it, and in your opinion, does it really matter whether a game cost $1 million or $50 million to make if you, the gamer, are having fun with it?
No, I mean, like I said, I've had fun with games like Dead Cells, for example, or that was potentially one of my favorite games of last year, you know. So the definition of what is fun or what games you enjoy, it doesn't need to fit in a box, you know.
Exactly.
It
Great
doesn't
point.
need to be photorealistic graphics every game because certain gamers think that that's just the status quo, right? It needs to fit in a certain box or it's not a good game, and that's just not the case. There's some people out there that like to play sports games. There's some people out there that like to play anime games or whatever. They're not. There's so many different genres and varieties that you can't just box things into these simplistic definitions. That's why it's important that the portfolio is expansive, you know, with Microsoft, because they're trying to put it into the Netflix of gaming in this Game Pass. So that's why, you know, you have the you know, Playground Games and the Obsidians and the Undead Labs. Like, you look at the type of developers in there, they're very different. Ninja
Yes.
Theory, the Coalition, they're trying to tap different audiences. They don't want to just have the same old shit. You know what I'm saying? So
Well, I mean, look, here's the thing. Not every game is for every gamer, and that's okay. That's why Game Pass is so amazing. There's going to be an experience like Netflix. Maybe you're not into horror, so you don't go past the horror section in Netflix. Maybe you're not into rom-coms. You're like, that's girl stuff. I don't want it. Guess what? I watch it all with my wife. Rom-coms, horrors, comedies, you name it. We watch everything. It's the same thing with Game Pass. If there's a game in there that does not tickle your fancy, well, guess what? Don't download it and keep it moving. But there may be a game in there you're like, wait a second. I never played this game for game. Push the start button. You're like, holy shit. How did I miss this game? It happens all the time. But before we move on to the next topic, I have to thank two people. First of all, Harry Heck with the additional $5 super chat. He says Naughty Dog became a AAA developer when games took around 1 to 2 years to develop. That working place isn't there today with dev circles being between 4 and 6 years. Yeah, you're correct about that. As a matter of fact, Amy Hennig was just talking about that games were cranked out every 2 years. Now they're upwards as 5 and 6 years. So you're correct on that. And LMNOP says, does Xbox need to be the same as Sony? Question mark. Don't we buy Xbox for their flavor games? Does Xbox need to match Sony genre for genre? First of all, thank you for the outstanding $5 super chat. And those are fantastic questions. No, Microsoft should not become Sony. I am going to say, though, it would be nice that we get an updated Fable that was more realistic. I know I'm going to get booed for that, but I want a more realistic Fable. You know, we had 3 of the originals. I'd like to see a reimagining of the Fable. You know, we're going to have the serious games. We're going to have the photorealistic games in Gears 5 and Halo Infinite and whatever else they have, you know, but I don't think neither company should imitate each other. But with that said, Salty, I think both companies could learn from one another. Sony could learn that multiplayer games matter, right? I think it's fair to say that without pointing fingers. And Sean Layden in the interview just said the exact same thing. We need to do better when it comes to multiplayer. At the same time, flip it. I think Microsoft could learn that single-player, adult-themed, story-driven titles can sell tens of millions and be Game of the Year contenders. So I think both companies could learn from each other. And you say, well, wait a second. There's Nintendo. Where are you going? Nintendo, listen, they're flying in their own lane. Don't bother them. They're amazing. They're doing great things. So we talked about it yesterday. The game's coming out in 2019. It's gonna be the highest selling console again this year. Don't worry about Nintendo. They'll be fine. But let's move on to the next topic. Halo Infinite has been confirmed to be at E3 2019. And you know why I'm even more excited? And I have goosebumps talking about it because I'm going to be at E3 2019. It's the first time in in my 48 years on this earth that I'm going to be able to attend something as grand as E3. It just turns out to be that I'm lucky enough that the amazing and outstanding people at the Iron Lords podcast has schooled Boom and got me there, and it's going to be a big deal. But Halo Infinite, the long-awaited follow-up to 2015's So Halo 5 Guardians, depending on who you ask, is going to be at E3 2019. And this is confirmed by 343 Industries boss, who I absolutely love this woman, Bonnie Ross, who told Ryan McCaffrey in an interview that she just did with the obviously big conglomerate known as IGN. Whether you like them or you don't, it's up to you. Me, I pass on IGN. But with that said, we're under 100 days away from E3, Salty. How crazy is it going to be to see what this game looks like?
It's going to be outstanding because last E3 we just got a tech demo. You know, we didn't get much. There was some good stuff there that you could pull from that video, but they're going to go above and beyond, and it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be obviously one of the focal points of their conference because they're building that hype level up, and we have rumors that they're going to be revealing consoles as well. With all the stuff that they're going to be showing, what's their conference going to be? 4 hours long? Like what is this? Like, come on. It's crazy. But yeah, I love Bonnie Ross. She seems like an awesome person. And the fact that this is rumored that it's going to be dropping as a next gen launch title is crazy because it just builds that hype level up for the next gen system. When's the last time that they dropped Halo, you know, with their console? It was the original Xbox. Yep. So this is a flagship title, and I think they're treating it as such. They're calling this a spiritual reboot of the game. So they're not, you know, they made a whole new engine for this game because the old engine just wasn't cutting it. It was taking too long to do what they needed to do, and they wanted to do some new and fantastic things with their products. So I think this is going to be crazy, and it's going to be awesome. I hope and I pray that they just knock it out of the park in both areas, because 343, when they first got Halo 4, you know, the story was good, the multiplayer sucked, and Halo 5, the story sucked and the multiplayer is good. It's like, you guys need to put it together this time. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's get a multiplayer that's good, let's get a story that's good, and then put a battle royale in there and knock it out of the park. You know what I'm saying? So.
Well, I mean, look, first of all, I have to say, Silverback, thank you for the $2 super chat. He says, does Sony need multiplayer? Third party does it best. Dude, again, both companies need to learn from each other, okay? And and it's good. Change is good. Yes, and if you're asking the question, I will answer it for you. Yes, Sony needs more multiplayer. Microsoft needs more adult-themed games. That's it. End of story. Take it or leave it. That's that. But I believe everyone could grow as a company. You know, I have another topic. It is Halo related. This one I'm going to get booed on. I know it. I know for sure. And you know what? That's okay, because I'm with Salty. You like controversy. You're rubbing off on me. So let's go crazy. You know, Halo Infinite is going to be a lot of things. The slip space engine. I actually cannot wait to see this in action. You know, again, Salty, you just said it. The old Halo engine was really long in the tooth, and change needed to happen. I mean, look, Halo 5 looked stunning with the 4K HDR visuals. I mean, it's still, when you look at Master Chief, which was only in 4 levels, and that sucked. You look at his hands, or you look at Locke's hands, you can see the carbon fiber in the gloves. I mean, that's crazy that we can get that detailed in 2019 or 2018, because that's when the 4K patch came out. But my question to you is, you know, Bonnie Ross said a lot of things at this interview, and I highly, even though I don't like IGN, I like Bonnie Ross, and I think that it behooves you, if you're a fan, and it pains me to say this, Salty, I have to kind of pinch myself, head over to IGN and just watch the interview if you're a fan of Bonnie Ross. If you don't like IGN, I can't help you, because I don't have the clout to interview Bonnie Ross, but maybe someday. She said that Halo Infinite, Salty, is going to be a spiritual reboot. Now, that is look, it's a small sentence, but it holds a lot of weight. You know, she said during the interview, Salty, that, and she admitted that it took them 2 games to get where they are now, and that she is absolutely to her core satisfied with what they're doing with the Halo Infinite. And she said a lot. Again, she said a lot of things, but the spiritual reboot makes me excited as a fan. And again, this is where I'm going to get booed, but let me just read her statement while she was being interviewed by Ryan McCaffrey. It says, there has been a lot of introspective time to really reflect on what's done as 343, where we've made mistakes, where we've hit it right. What does Halo mean to us? And what does Halo mean to the fans? Maybe it took us 2 games to get there. And I think we've done good things and bad things. But what does Halo mean to us? It's about hope. It's about wonder. It's about heroism and humanity and community and bringing a community together. That is what the trailer is, and that's what we want to do. Yo, I got goosebumps from my head to my toes reading that, because that is a powerful statement. Salty, what are your takes on Bonnie Ross's statement?
Okay, so I think that what she's saying is, they know how important Halo is, and it's important to all the fans, but they realize that they need to step it up a notch. You know what I'm saying? Like this spiritual reboot per se. When you go on a spiritual journey trying to find yourself, it's kind of like it takes a little bit of time, and you got some bumps in the road, but eventually, you work through all that and you make your way out. And I think that that's just the case with 343. Like obviously they're listening to the feedback from the fans. They're not, they don't close their ears off as what sometimes there's the tendency for some of these people to get on their high horse and not listen to the fans and the feedback and just kind of do whatever they do. And if you don't like it, too bad, right? But like in this situation, they kind of knew that the direction they were going just wasn't acceptable. It wasn't well received. They probably look at the sales figures, and it was on the trend of going down. It's just the franchise that's your number one franchise for Xbox. It has to be treated like the Mario of Nintendo, or like God of War for PlayStation, whatever. These pillar franchises, the foundation pieces. You can't just let this go down to the shithole. You know what I'm saying? Like they're making a TV series on Halo. They talked about making movies on Halo. Like this franchise has like unlimited potential.
Yeah.
And plain and simple, they just weren't hitting the mark. You know what I'm saying? So at a certain case in point, you got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, we can do better. We have to do better. We need to do something different. It's kind of like with DC movies, they were just shitting the bed over and over and over with something that has so much potential, and you're not hitting the mark. So you have to go back to the drawing board. Maybe you got to get a new Batman in there. Maybe you got to take some risks with Aquaman, and it comes out and it does wonders for you. And then they have the new Shazam coming out. You just got to try new things and go back to the drawing board. But you have, first and foremost, you got to admit that you're not doing what you need to do. And I think they're doing that. They're saying, hey, we need a new engine. We're putting that in. Hey, we're going to do a spiritual reboot. Hey, we're going into new directions and we're going to take risks. That's what they need to do with this franchise to get it back on top, because it's been on the downcline. No matter who you talk to, there's some people that will damage control it. This franchise is not where it was 10 years ago or whatever.
Yeah,
It's been on a steady decline, and it needs to go back up, and they're going to have to do some things to get it there, but I think they can, so.
Well, look, there have been rumors, Salty, that Halo Infinite will focus more on an RPG mechanics and have branching story paths. This is something the game has never had. This might fit in with Ross's description of a soft reboot. And before I get booed off my own show, I want to ask your opinion. What are your takes on Halo Infinite being the spiritual successor that Bonnie Ross is talking about? And what exactly do you, Salty, want to see this game go? Where do you want to see it go in regards for direction?
I want them to have a compelling story. They need to have a bad guy that actually has personality. has some kind of a backstory that you give a rat's ass about. You know what I'm saying? Enemy types that you care about, locations, all the stuff. Atriox, for example.
Yes, you took the words out of my mouth. Yes,
he's an out. It's a shame, man. Halo Wars 2 wasn't played by a lot of people, but that story, that bad guy, he's the definition of what a bad guy should be. Personality, just flair. Like, I'll kill my own dudes if I have to get what I want. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just like, I want like a Thanos type, not Thanos, but like a personality, someone that talks, someone that you could hate or love or whatever you want to do. And then that's someone they have to go fight against. I want to see more, Master Chief. I want to see them go back to the roots. Like, Halo Reach is one of the most beloved Halo games, and they have a lot of crazy things that they did in that game, like out in space, flying ships and shit, like doing crazy stuff, trying new things. I want them to try new things, go open world, have different armor sets you can get on. I mean, there's potential to do stuff like that. I don't know how far they want to go in that direction. I know it will piss a lot of people off. Namely, my friend Ashtray Gaming said if they go this RPG route or having some RPG elements, he's out. You know what I'm saying? So some people are going to get pissed off and be out, and it is what it is. But you can't just worry about who you're going to offend in this day and age, because you would never do anything. You know what I'm saying? Especially with video game players. Unfortunately, you're going to ruffle the feathers of people when you try to evolve your game, because there's some people that just want to see the same shit over and over and over, but that doesn't work with games. Just look at Mario Odyssey. They put Cappy in there and they evolved that game. Look at God of War. They changed the way the game looks and plays completely. So you need to take risks with your franchise, and I think that that's what they need to do. I think the RPG stuff, I think that's cool, man. I think that idea is cool, man. Put it in an open world setting. Yes. Like I said, throw a battle royale in there, because that's the popular genre. I know a lot of people hate battle royale or whatever.
Yeah, but it's just a mode, Salty.
Yeah, I mean, why not throw that in there and keep, big team battle and all that other stuff? You could have everything else in there. Just try new things. Take risks is all I want to see, So.
Yeah, well, listen, real quick before I give my point, Eric the Red with the outstanding $2 super chat. Thank you so much. He says, Halo Infinite should bring chills and memories, and it definitely will. Look, this is what I want out of Halo Infinite. I want a return to Halo Combat Evolved with Master Chief. I want the story to focus on him. I want it to focus on his relationship and what happens to Cortana, right? I think that's important. We know she went completely off the rails. That story has to be fixed at one point or another, okay? But this is where I'm going to get booed. Like it, hate it, love it, whatever. I want, and I agree with you 100%, Salty, we got to get open world here, okay? And I'm not saying they need to do God of War open world, which was contained to a, it was open world, but it didn't feel outrageously open world like a Fallout game. I think that is a great path to take. One of the things that if you ask someone who hasn't read the books, who hasn't played through every Halo, who hasn't beaten it on the hardest difficulty 10 times over, they may not know the lore, right? They may not know a lot of what's going on in the Halo universe. An open world ideology gives the player who wants to explore the world of Halo through finding text, finding books, watching videos, whatever, within the game space, giving that lore. Again, you want to be able to play. It's like playing a book. Right, you want to play this game, you want to enjoy, but at the same time, you want to suck up all the knowledge that you could possibly get. And they have an opportunity to give us, again, I think it's a perfect blend, to be honest with you. Give us what we loved about Halo Combat Evolved. Right, you had your close quarter shooter mechanics. You did have open world and open areas, not so open world. And at the same time, you focused on Master Chief. You got to know about him. You got to know about Cortana. And because we are now moving into the future, folks, the future doesn't wait for anyone. change needs to come. It needs to come to Gears, and it needs to come to Halo. And they don't have to, it doesn't have to be egregious. It could be subtle changes, but an open world setting, different armor types. And look, I'm going to say this right now. I am so tired of the same 4 gun choices for Master Chief. My God. You guys are the Marines. You're supposed to have about 15 different types of weapons. It can't be a standard sniper, a standard shotgun, the pistol that blows everyone's head off, and the BR. It's got to be more than that. And I don't really care about using Covenant weapons. The fact they all suck to me. The only one I like is the Needler because it homes in on everybody. But other than that, I could care less about those weapons. Let's get some more weapon choices here in our Halo. I mean, am I talking craziness, Salty?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute, my dude. Yeah, dude, the guns, step it up a notch, man. Put it like 3 times the amount of guns in there. Like, why not? Like, why limit yourself to these same old guns? Step it up. That's one of the issues that I had. Another issue is just the aiming mechanics. I know that's just one of the standards for Halo where you hip fire and shit, but in this day and age for FPS, man, I got to aim down sights, and I don't want to be kicked out of aiming down sights when I get shot, like the way that they did it for Halo 5. I know they were trying to implement, newer mechanics there, but that's one of the drawbacks when I go back to play the original Halos. Like when I'm hip firing and all this other shit, it just kind of, it makes me not want to play the game because I'm used to being able to ADS, and when I can't do that, it's just, I don't like it, So when Bungie went over and they made Destiny, you can ADS and all that stuff's there. So I just want to see that. I don't know if they will do that specifically, but I'd love to see it. More guns, more armor sets, more customizations, open world, all that stuff, man.
Are you saying choice should be at the forefront? Yeah, I think so. Real quick, Philly Eagle, big fan of the show. Thank you so much for the outstanding $5 super chat. He says 117 is Bungie's version for 343 to truly make Halo theirs. They have to retire 117, let players make their own Spartans. Now, I like the idea, but I'm so attached to Master Chief. My God, I don't know. They tried to do that with Locke, and everyone was like, boo, Locke is terrible. I don't know, man. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm old school, and I kind of really want Chief, but I would be willing to have a Chief around somewhere and let me make my own Spartan. If we can meet in the middle like that, we're good. And Shane Toblin with the outstanding $5 super chat. He says, sick of the negativity about Xbox. This is the only positive chat I can find. Well, look, first of all, thank you for saying that. And that really does mean a lot to me. The one thing that I have been told by numerous people who've messaged me privately is that this chat is a fun place to come. There's no fanboy nonsense. Everyone, every flag here is welcome. Okay? If you fly a Nintendo flag only, come on, I'll give you a big hug. If you're a Sony dude, guy or gal, come on over. We'll have a beer. If you're an Xbox guy, well, this is an Xbox show. You're going to feel right at home. Everyone is welcome. And yes, my shows are all about positivity. There's too much negative shit in this world, right? I'm not talking about gaming. We're talking about the world itself. It's a terrible place. So let's not add to the negativity. Let's be happy. Let's be positive. And let's move on to the next topic, Salty. The Xbox Maverick console will be called, and there's a lot of memes out there, the Xbox One S All Digital Edition, and people are calling it the Xbox One S Sad Edition. I mean, listen, it's funny. You say it out loud and you laugh. I sometimes wonder, when they're doing the marketing, isn't someone kind of like putting these things together? You know what I'm saying? Because the community is so sharp, right? Like, so you put this out there, and in seconds, someone was like, that's the Sad Edition. So if they could see it, the people making the big bucks at marketing need to do better. But you know what? Let's not talk about the Sad Edition. Let's talk about the experiment that we have before us that's going to be launching in, from what we understand, in May. Pre-orders, from what I understand, from what I've been told privately, are going to be starting in April. Digital it's not new. but it's a new ideology for old cats like me, right? Like I was oh my God, I used to fight with my brother Neo Mental. He's like, Craig, he used to say, Craig, wake up, digital is here. And I'm like, no, man, I can't go digital. I like my collection. I like looking on my shelf and seeing my 200 games there. It's my my comfort blanket, if you will. And now I only have whatever discs I currently have are because they came with collector's editions that didn't offer a digital version, which I wish they would, because I love the collector's edition. Everyone knows that. And usually, like, for instance, Resident Evil 2. Well, I have Resident Evil 2 on disc. Why? Well, because it came with the Leon, the deluxe collector's edition. But what I really enjoy about what Microsoft is doing here, Salty, is that they're getting people ready for the next generation, but they're not just throwing this out there and saying, hey, take it or leave it. If you're an Xbox owner and you wanted to go all digital, you can take all of your games over to a Microsoft store, and other participating corporations going to be involved in this, and they're going to basically, you're trading a disc for a code. So I mean, again, Salty, what are your takes on the digital revolution that we're seeing happen in front of us? And is this a good way for Microsoft to kind of, I guess, get the consumer used to the idea that there may actually be a box that's all digital?
Man, I talked about this on Xbox Nation when Brad Sams was on there, and this is before all this stuff came out, and he was, consistent with the fact that it was still going to come out, because I actually asked the question, hey, where's Maverick? Where's this diskless Xbox? And then he talked about it, and we talked about it, and I was like, how does this fit into the timeline? Like, we're getting pretty close to E3, and there's rumors that we're dropping 2 systems, the announcements of the next gen consoles. And I was like, isn't this kind of going to get swept under the rug, or people going to get confused? I just think the timing's kind of weird. I wish they would have done this probably 6 months ago. That would have been a cool time to do it and kind of get the public used to it, because I like the concept. I personally would have, like, if I didn't have an Xbox One X, and I had an S right now, I'd probably switch over to the Maverick, the SAT edition, and because I'm all digital. You look at my library, like, you look at my ready to install, like, I need to get a better hard drive at this point, man. I need, like, so many terabytes. It's crazy, like hundreds and hundreds of games I can install, so if you had asked me 3 or 4 years ago, hey, you're going to be all digital, I would have laughed at you, like, no, I'm not doing that, but I am, so I think that that's just the way technology is headed, and there's a lot of people that are going to fight it and say it's not for them, and et cetera, but I've given this example before. Unfortunately, like with TVs and stuff like that, my grandma, she didn't want to upgrade to the HD televisions, but she wanted to watch her free programming, like the news and stuff like that. Eventually, the people, the channels just basically said, hey, if you don't upgrade, you're not going to get TV. So what do? I mean, do you just stick there with no TV, or do you get a HD receiver? Or an HD television. So eventually this technology gets to a point where you're going to have to upgrade. It's kind of like CDs in cars. Like, you can't go buy a CD you can't buy a car with a CD player in it right now, even if you wanted to. I guess you could have it custom installed, but the technology eventually fades out. So it is what it is. I think that this is a smart idea. They're going to test the market to see what happens. I think this is completely 100% a test situation for Microsoft, because they're trying to do this whole digital streaming, xCloud, Game Pass, everything is involved there. So they're going to be like, okay, well, what if we take the disk drive out, make an all digital console? Let's see how much it sells, how popular it is, if it's viable in this market, and then they go from there. Because essentially, if people buy this product, they can do the streaming on it as well, like the cloud streaming on that system as well. So there's lots of different possibilities for it. The price is a lot lower. I'm guessing the price is going to be $150 US. I think that's a good price point for it, because if you come in at $200, it doesn't really scream to the consumer, hey, why do I need to buy this? But if you come in 150, man, if you could come in at $100, man, I think this you would sell to a lot of people that weren't normally going to buy this product.
Yeah.
And so I think that price point needs to be there. And I think it's interesting. I don't know how many people are going to actually buy it, because it's like I said before, the S is out there. They're going to be kind of reluctant to fully commit to digital, even though they are digital. Like it's a commitment. It's like, hey, I'm not going to have a disk drive, so I need to be
no choice. Yeah, the choice.
Yeah, so you take out the choice, and they have to commit, and committing for people is not an easy thing. So change isn't easy, committing it isn't easy. So it should be interesting to see. We won't get specific sales numbers, I don't think, on this device, but
probably not.
I wish I could be a fly on the wall at Microsoft and see the analytics and say, hey, how many Mavericks did we sell? How many SAT editions did we sell? You know what I'm saying?
How many days did we ruin by selling these consoles? I don't know. Real quick, Philly Eagle with the outstanding $2 super chat. Thank you for that. In addition to the already $5 that you gave, so really thank you for that. He says, FYI, Master Chief is his rank, not his name. Yes, that is correct. His real name is John. We know him as 117. But they call him Master Chief because, again, you're in a military setting, and he's the Master Chief because that's his rank. So, yes, that's absolutely correct. Scrub Nurse with the outstanding $5 super chat. It said, I used to stand in line for hours and wait until midnight with a bunch of smelly underarms. When digital came out, I jumped at it. Great show, guys. Yes, thank you so much. I have spent so many freezing nights in those lines. I actually enjoyed it. Yes, some of them were smelly because people were there 2 and 3 days. Wow, real quick, Elemental P with the outstanding $20 super chat. He says the S was a slight upgrade from the vanilla. If MS is releasing this new console, then shouldn't they at least improve on the memory a little in the CPU to make it perform just a little bit better? Yeah, I agree. That's a great point. I don't know. Again, that's the funny thing. We don't really know a lot about the Maverick. I'm kind of wondering, Salty, if we're gonna see this possibly unveiled at maybe not this Inside Xbox, but definitely the next one in April, I would imagine. Again, Microsoft does some crazy things. I don't want to start talking sense here and make a fool out of myself, but who knows? But you know what? Yeah, I kind of want to touch on price because you started in on it, and I think that it's an important talking piece when you talk about the Maverick or the SAD edition, if that's what you want to call it. I know. First of all, that Brad Sams episode was fantastic, and real quick, I've been in touch with Brad Sams, who is an absolute astonishing gentleman, and he made a deal with BoomStick that if he hits 10,000 subs, he is going to be a guest, okay, on the Xbox Factor podcast. Now, some people were like, that's not right. He should just be a guest. Listen, it's the deal that was made, and I agreed to it. So get over to his channel. If you like BoomStick and you enjoy Brad Sams and you want him to be a guest, help Boom out. Let's get some big name people on the show outside of me and Salty and the Welsh Gamer, and of course many people from the community. I'd love to just chat it up with Brad Sams. He's close. I think he's at like 8,700, or he might even be 9,000. So he's 1,000 away from being a guest on this show. So you make that happen. Head over there, sub his channel, and let's get that done. But I want to get back to price. That episode that you were on with him was a really good, fantastic episode. If you didn't listen, I think it was at last week's Xbox Nation. Check that out because he had a lot of really good information. But he believed that it was going to come in at 200, and I heard what you said about that, and I agree with you. First of all, 150 I think is a sweet price, but man, could you just imagine, Salty, if this was $100? If this was $100, it would literally fly off shelves like it was the second coming of gaming. Price, obviously, when you look back to 2013. Right in the beginning of this generation, Sony had a hardware power advantage. The 1080p versus 900p, but that really wasn't the main talking point. It was the $100 price tag. People, $100 is a lot of money for a lot of people. It's a lot of money for me. But if this came out at $100, in your opinion, how well do you think it would sell to the people who are PlayStation, folks that maybe never had an Xbox One, or the 360 folks that went over to PlayStation 4 because of power and price and never jumped in on the Xbox?
I think it would be a perfect price point for people that want to get into the Xbox ecosystem, but don't really have the funds, or don't. They're kind of questioning whether or not it's for them, because $100, man. I mean, at that point, you're getting in a realm for you don't go out to eat for a couple of weeks and then you can have an Xbox console. You know what I'm saying? So it'd be a good entry point for a lot of these people. And you get access to a lot of other things like Netflix and, some other apps that you can use on there that can warrant the justification of buying that console. Plus, like I said, it's an entry point into this xCloud situation. Like, if it opens up possibilities, and I think that it's going to touch a market that hasn't been touched before, and a subset of people and individuals that necessarily probably weren't going to get into the ecosystem, and they'll probably jump in. But the price point has to be there. You know what I'm saying? It can't come in over $150, or I don't think anybody is motivated to buy this. Like, if they come in at $200, why don't you just buy an Xbox One S? So, because you get the disc drive, and it's a 4K disc drive, plus you'd have the system. Like, they need to show value, and I think the only way you do that is by coming in at $150 or less. You come in at $100, maybe take a little bit of a loss, and I think that you're going to sell these like hotcakes.
Well, I mean, look, again, it's coming out at a time where, you're getting into the summer months, right? Obviously, it's supposedly going to be coming out in May, so we don't actually know for sure. But again, the $100 box. Now, again, Salty, you're with me on this. We heard this rumor, right? The digital box, the digital xCloud. Well, we know that's coming out eventually. Technology, next year is going to be a hell of a lot cheaper than it is now. But Microsoft has a real strong opportunity to get this box in as many hands as they can, with a real. I mean, listen, you make it 100, make it 125, take a little loss. I don't know. I mean, I can't tell the big companies what to do. But anything over $150, I think, is a huge mistake. The power price for me, as a person looking at the logistics of trying to get new Xbox fans, the $100 it would be killer. It would literally just, again, fly off the shelves. Marketing, if you're listening to this channel, which I thank you for that, I doubt that they are, take Salty and Boom's advice, drop this bad boy for $100. And you know what? Again, that's where you get someone to subscribe to Game Pass, right, Salty? I mean, you turn around, you say, okay, here's $100 box, digital only, $10 a month, you get over 200 games. Wow, it's a win-win for everyone, even if you're not a so-called Xbox guy or gal, right?
Yeah, I think it'd be important to put in like 3 months of Game Pass as well.
Yes, absolutely, dude.
I'm sure they'll do that because they have all kinds of promotions going on for Game Pass. If your Game Pass runs out, or even, hey, get 3 months of Game Pass for $3. So I definitely see them putting that in there. I was just like, hey, call this like the Game Pass box or something like that. Like, you could do all kinds of crazy things with it. There's lots of possibilities, and they're pushing this narrative, and I think it's going to do well for them. Hopefully, if the price point is consistent, and just push Game Pass, and people will snatch it up.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think it would be a big win for Microsoft. And someone said in the chat, I'm not sure who it was. I'm trying to look. That's why I was away from the mic for a second. They said if they're going to make more money on the Game Pass subscriptions over time than take the loss on the console, and that's absolutely true. You get, again, the deal is there. $10 a month. Again, if you want to be a standard person and pay $10 a month, that's great. If you want to be a savvy person like Boom, well, you wait for it to go on sale, and I'm paid up to almost 2020. I'm all the way through 2020. I'm sorry. So take advantage. Pay $30, and instead of the pay $60 instead of the $120. But again, that's that's a horse of another color. This has been a great topic. I'm glad that we touched on the price. I think that's going to be a big. I think it's going to be really important to see where this console goes, especially now that we're in the digital age, and a lot of people are trying to push on it, but it's coming no matter what. But you know what? The next topic is an interesting one. Xbox creator Semaus Blackley, man, he made some noise on Twitter this week. And what he says is that the Don Matrix, who and you talk to Donnie D, he's the man. Donnie D was a dick, okay, and he nearly caused the collapse of the Xbox. And we have that confirmation from Semaus Blackley. It says Don Matrix had little faith in the console, and before exiting stage right, he single-handedly nearly ended the Xbox brand. And I get this information from Semaus Blackley's official Twitter account, and he said that Maverick nearly blocked Blackley from addressing the company when he visited EA Canada, where Maverick was working at the time, to talk about the first Xbox. And I want to read this quote because it's important. Let me see if I can find it over here. Okay, here was the exact tweet from Semaus Blackley. I've never talked about this before, but the irony of Don Matrix as Xbox chief was huge for me. When I first came to EA Canada to present the idea of a Microsoft console, he nearly blocked me from addressing the company because he didn't believe it was possible. It was tense. Now we know Salty Maverick had a storied history within the gaming industry. I mean, the guy didn't just come out of nowhere. He kicked off his career in the 80s, and then that's when he started, in the video game business, and he began gaining traction in the early 2000s after joining EA as the company's president of worldwide studios. Maverick left EA in February of 2007, and he joined Microsoft as one of the top bosses of the Xbox division. It was a notable move considering what he apparently said about the Xbox years prior to becoming an employee. It's actually quite funny. And in July of 2013, 2 months after the company's Xbox One reveal, he joined Zynga. And obviously he was immediately removed. And I say immediately because these guys hang around. He was having some big trouble there. I say this. My question to you, Salty, is this. How lucky is it for the Xbox platform now that Maverick is no longer in charge of it? And did the fan base dodge a bullet when he left the company?
I'm muted again. Man, don't get me started about Don Maverick, dude.
Donnie D.
It boggles my mind that some people still talk about Donnie D in a positive light. Oh my God, Donnie D was so good for Xbox and this and that, man. I'm like, seriously, are you guys joking me? I mean, this guy did all in his power to literally dig a hole and throw the Xbox brand into it and start burying it. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, this guy was horrible. And it's crazy just to think back about his ideology and the way he approached the company, man. He just didn't give two shits, the way he talked to the fan base, the way he approached his business, the business side for Xbox, his decisions with the way that he approached the Kinect and focusing on that. It's just subpar at best. And just to hear these quotes, man, it doesn't surprise me at all that he was skeptical. It doesn't seem like he's a gamer at all. I'm not a big fan of Donnie D, and I'm so glad that he's gone, honestly, because like I said before, he was involved in one of the main people that almost destroyed the brand, and I don't know, I cringe every time I hear his name. So,
and it's funny you should say that, because there are several people within this community that say, well, wait a second, Donnie D, he got all the third party and second party games. No, you know what, folks? I'm here to tell you on absolute #facts, that is not true. All of those second-party helpings that made the Xbox 360 what it was thanks to Phil Spencer. He just presented those to Donnie D and he approved them. Unfortunately, at the time, Phil Spencer had to answer to this jackass. And thank goodness that's not the case. Again, I don't know what you could say bad about Phil Spencer. I really don't. Maybe maybe you're gonna say, well, he's too much of a nice guy. I can't stand it. I actually really dig nice guys. I'm one of them, and I like. I don't know if I would, say that I'm, I can compare myself to a Phil Spencer. I think that'd be really out of my wheelhouse. But I really think he's a genuine human being and the right man to be running the Xbox platform. And we've seen what he's done. But you know what's, segueing into the next topic, Salty, and I think you're going to get a real kick out of this one. Phil Spencer in late 2018 and early 2019 has been detailing Microsoft's gaming future, led by xCloud streaming. And again, this isn't a revelation. We know this was coming, but I want to say this: it should excite fans, not scare Xbox customers. As we know, Microsoft has laid out their strategy on tour of its gaming facilities at Redmond, Washington's home base this week. Executives steadily repeated a key number, 2 billion. That's the number of gamers in the world by Microsoft's estimate, and many of the players live in parts of the world where console gaming isn't feasible. Okay, so this is a direct quote from Phil Spencer, which I thought was important. That's why I'm going to read it. We know we aren't going to sell 2 billion consoles, and there are a lot of markets around the world where a console is not necessarily a part of the lifestyle. I'm sorry, that wasn't actually from Phil Spencer. That was from Kareem Kodri, corporate vice president of gaming, of cloud gaming for Microsoft. Oh, I apologize for that. Microsoft executives, when asked specifically about the plan, had saying that it is an ambitious one, but they believe that xCloud is going to be the next big thing within the industry. And obviously, Salty, if you add Xbox Game Pass subscriptions to that, my God, man, you really could reach a lot of gamers. They had one more quote. I want to read it. And again, I thought it was important. We want to bring Game Pass to any device that someone wants to play on, Spencer said. Not just because it's our business, but really because the business model allows for people to consume and find games that they wouldn't have played in any other space. Those two statements are big and really kind of, it's clear as glass for me. What are your takes on both statements from the Microsoft executives?
Oh my goodness, it's a lot to unpack. I think the 2 billion gamers, that's one of the statements, right? That they want to reach out to that many. It makes sense to me because billions. There's billions of people out there. It's just the looking at a millions compared to billions, like the possibilities out there are endless, and they just need to look at the bigger picture. And I think a lot of us as gamers, especially console gamers, we can be stuck in our traditional ways and think that, hey, we're all we need to have the same experience over and over and over. But there's lots of people out there that want to experience gaming but just don't have the resources or the money or any of that things. So if they are able to outreach to more and more people, that's potentially more new gamers that can experience the same thing that we're experiencing. I think that's just phenomenal. I think that anytime that people get the chance to experience gaming, I think it's a good thing because it's one of the best things in my life and the thing that I'm most passionate about. So when they talk about outreaching to more and more people, I think it's a cool thing. And I think it's just narrow-minded when people just kind of scoff at the idea or think, have that elitist mentality where they want to confine everything into one box or whatever. It is what it is. I think it's just a difference of opinion there, but I personally would like to give the opportunity to as many people as possible. What was the second quote by chance?
The second quote was, we want to, you're talking about the, we want to bring Game Pass to any device that someone wants to play on.
Okay. So yeah. Yeah, so that's just basically the Game Pass situation. It makes sense because if you want to play it on your phone, play it on your phone. If you want to play it on the Switch, unfortunately, that was debunked. So I don't
Yes,
know.
yes,
I
yes.
don't know when that's going to happen, but I think eventually that will happen. I don't know about the PlayStation situation as well, but yeah, they want to. They want. It's just like Netflix. You got to think about the Game Pass situation like an app, like Netflix on your smart TV or whatever. Eventually, and then you have access to all those games, and wherever you can access Netflix, like on a tablet, on a smartphone, on a TV that has access to the internet, you can play. You can have all your games. You can have all your everything at your fingertips. So it just makes sense for me because I don't know. I think it just is. It's an app. So.
Real quick, I have to give a big shout out to Purple Rain in the chat. He says Mario Run on the phones has over 200 million downloads. xCloud is a smart idea. Dude, that is well put, and it's simplistic. And it's also funny how when that happened, I didn't see anyone rioting in the streets about how Nintendo was over. Do you remember that, Salty? Because I don't.
Yeah.
But you know what? Look, here's the thing. I understand that if you're a Sony dude, and you're this big blue flag, you're like waving it on, you have it attached to the top of your car, and every time you drive, it's like just blue rainbow all over the place. I hear you. All right, you're proud. 100 million consoles sold. We're the best. Yes, you were the best, and you currently are the best. The problem is this, and I said it last week: console sales, folks, are an antiquated and old ass way of thinking. Okay. Game sales is where the profit has been and will always be. Okay. I understand you're proud of console sales. It's a checklist. Don't take away my checklist, Boom. You suck. Well, I'm sorry. The checklist is burnt. It's in the garbage. It's crumpled up old news. It's becoming irrelevant. You tell me this: if you're a developer, you're Microsoft, and you make a game, Gears 10, and it sells, how many consoles, but triple that amount are playing it because they're playing it, everywhere on the PC and on the go on their tablet. What do you care as a consumer? Why would you actually care where people are playing? Aren't you happy that the game is still relevant and that people want to buy the game and play the game? Game sales, strong game sales equal what, Salty? Sequels,
Yep.
right? If you're a Gears fan, you're a Halo fan, you're a Forza fan, you want these to keep selling. How does that happen? The more people that play the games, the more copies of said game you're going to sell. I mean, my God, this is like math 101, and I'm a boob. So I mean, if I can get it, folks, I think anyone can get it. But real quick, Elemental P, my God, dude, you're killing it today with the outstanding $5 super chat. He said, shouldn't xCloud focus on the areas where it's not feasible first? Should they release it everywhere? Well, I mean, that's, I understand your point. Yeah, they should focus on areas that can't get consoles, and there are plenty of places in the world that just they can't support it. It's just the import prices are just too much. But at the same time, you can't just drop it where you need it. I think it's got to be a blanket statement. I think it's got to be, okay, it's out there for everyone. Go crazy. But you know what? We're going to go on to the last topic, and I think this is actually a really good one, a way to close the show. Our good friend Clobriel, again, he came up a couple times earlier in the show. I really dig what this guy has to say because he is an inside Xbox, person. And he does drop some massive, the one thing about him is he's very cheeky when it comes to his hints or his tweets. They're cryptic. They're cryptic in a way that gets Boom's mind thinking. And one of them was this: Hey at Double Fine Studios might want to join Xbox Game Studios. Your friends from In Exile and Obsidian came early, and we still have targets to reach. This whole hashtag 20 by 2020 movement is getting impatient. I'm not part of them, though. We love your game sincerely, Phil the Squirrel. Now, I want to talk about this first. I'm a huge Double Fine fan. Again, I'm an old school cat, so I grew up with those games. But I mean, in your opinion, do you think Double Fine Studios, who has released some incredible titles, even in this generation for Sony's machine, do you think it'd be great to have them as a first party developer?
I don't really have a lot of history with this studio, so I wouldn't be able to say much about it. But I do know that they have a good history when it comes to some of their games. I just haven't played a lot of them, right? Didn't they do Brutal Legend back in the day?
Yes, they did Brutal Legend. They have so many.
Costume Quest,
Yes,
Broken
yes,
Age.
yep.
See, the thing is I've heard of these games, but I've never played them. So I think that it would be a good opportunity for Xbox to expand their portfolio. Like I said before, I think it's just they need to be able to reach all genres, you know. So this company and this developer develops their type of games. Like all these games, I would say aren't my type of games, but they're someone's games. So there's going to be a market for them, and I think it would be awesome for them to pick it up. I think they also do Psychonauts, isn't that one of them? Yeah. So that's a very popular title. So like I said before, I'd like to say more about them, but I really don't know much about these games, or I haven't really played them, you know?
I mean, look, I'm gonna bring it back. I mean, first of all, Tim Schafer is the guy is amazing. He's a great developer. He's a great human being. He's funny. He's always talking with the community. You know, they made Psychonauts, they made Brutal Legend, they made Broken Age, they made Grim Fandango remastered on the PS4, which was amazing. And it's a small company. I'm looking at the wiki right now in front of me. And as of 2015, now this is old. It's not updated. It says 65 employees. It could be a little more than that. It's probably, you know, that 100, you know, count. But Salty, when Microsoft started to buy these studios, what was one of the first things we heard? They're looking to get those 100 people studios to make those AA games. And I mean, look, I'm not saying that, you know, this is a locked in thing. Klobrille has been wrong, but like I said, he's just so cryptic with his tweets that, again, when I saw Double Fine and it was him that was tweeting it, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you that I wasn't had a big Kool-Aid smile on my face. But you know what? Let's go with the next tweet from him. It says, with xCloud, PC, Game Pass, and so on, the term Xbox exclusive is getting more and more obsolete. I agree. I think Xbox should change it to Xbox Original. Prevents useless discussion about the exclusive word and can create a positive branding. That is freaking I mean, that's a great tweet. Again, it's not breaking news, not revelation, but it's really a smart tweet. What are your takes on the Xbox exclusive going away and them, you know, coining the term Xbox Original?
Xbox Original. I think it's a good thing because people have been talking about exclusives and how they don't exist on Xbox. So I think if you go away from that title, I think it's a good thing because people are going to hang their hat on the fact that it's not exclusive. So if you say Xbox Original, I think that'll settle better with the general public. But at the end of the day, there will always be the naysayers, the negative Nancy's, and the trolls out there, you know. So they're going to be like, "Oh, Xbox has no games and they have no exclusives, so they have to call them originals," you know. So there's always going to be that side of the coin. But I think it's a good thing if they go this route because it's a good phrase. I like the way it rolls off the tongue.
It does, right? It has like a nice, like, yeah, it just has a nice ring to it. You know what I'm saying? And again, because and I'm really happy you mentioned it earlier about how the Switch was debunked. Not shocking because Boom said so. The PS4 that I did a whole topic on last week's show, that several people in the community were like, you kind of blew us out of proportion. I don't think so. I said PS4, it wasn't going to PS4. And guess what, folks? It's not going to PS4. It's going to be on PCs. It's going to be on tablets. And it's going to be on iOS and Android. And who gives a shit, right? Who cares where someone plays their games? I don't. I just want the game. I want an awesome rocking Halo Infinite. I want an outstanding Gears 5, and I want the next Forza, whatever it's going to be, whether I'm flying a plane or eating a spoonful of Jello. I want to have fun doing it. It doesn't matter. I think people have to understand that the game space is changing, and you're probably going to have to change with it to some extent. Now, again, closing out the show, you're always going to have your hardware. The traditionalists are not being left behind. I want people to understand that. Phil Spencer has said it so many times. He's probably sick of saying it. You have to understand. Before we close the show, I want to just get your opinion on this, Salty. The right now, as it stands, streaming, the best you're probably going to get is 1080p, right, on a stream. On a streaming deck or a box or a deck of cards, whatever you want to do it. There is no way, at least in the next 5 years that I see, and I'm not a tech head, so maybe I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, tell me in the chat. It's fine. You're not going to get 4K 60 on a streaming deck. You're just not. I'm sorry. There are too many rural areas in the world that can't support that. Damn, some of these places don't even have cable. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to have that box, that $500 or $400 box underneath your TV for you to put your discs in. And if you want the disc version, there's probably going to be one of those too. Salty, my question is, should people just stop panicking and understand that Microsoft isn't going anywhere and neither are the consoles?
Yeah, Windows Central just put out a story about how the traditional consoles not going anywhere. We'll probably talk about that on the Saltiest Gaming Podcast. Shameless plug, but yeah, like the technology is just not there at this point, man. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. The biggest thing that we've seen with cloud streaming so far has been the Crackdown Wrecking Zone, and that just was not impressive at all. Specifically when it comes to Microsoft, I know that, what was it, Google did their Chrome browser stuff when it comes to Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I believe that looked pretty good. It just, I know we need to see more of it before I fully express my, okay, this is going to be mainstream in this amount of time. And just like you were saying, like the internet infrastructure for America is severely lacking. Okay?
Yes, it is
severely lacking, and we're talking about 4G. Okay, we're not even ready for 5G in America, man. Major
it's a shame,
things,
isn't it sad though when you talk and we say it out loud? It's terrible.
Like when we talk about this, I've talked about, I have the opportunity of talking to people all around the world. I've talked to people that are in Asia, talked to people that are actually living in Japan, and they talk about the internet infrastructure there. And I understand it's a smaller population, so it's easier to implement the technology based on geographics. But at the same time, you have the biggest country, like the wealthiest country in the world, in America, and they can't implement internet technology. We won't get into that, but it has a lot to do with politics and stuff like that. So the main objective for the United States specifically, if they want to get this streaming stuff mainstream, they need to get their internet shit together. You know what I'm saying? Because me specifically, I have issues playing YouTube videos on my cell phone at HD quality. I'm not even talking 4K quality. So when you're getting into streaming games at 4K quality, yeah, that's not going to happen for a long time. So we're going to be in the 1080p realm. So you're going to have the best experience in the console realm, the physical hardware, for a good amount of time. Who knows how long that's going to be, 5 to 10 years or whatever. And then I still don't think that the physical hardware is going to be going away even after that. I think the physical hardware will still remain for the foreseeable future, 15, 20 years down the line.
I agree. Yeah.
By that time, we're going to be in old folks' homes and getting our our butts wiped and stuff. Anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But don't worry about it, guys. It is what it is. Options, you know.
Yeah, options are great, and gaming is great, regardless of what flag you fly. Or like me, you dip your toe into many ponds. That's my opinion, the best way to game, because you know what? It removes the console war bullshit. I play the Xbox One for third party. Why? Because they look better on the X. They have their first party games. I love them all. PlayStation 4 Pro, all their first party stuff, love every one of them. Have a collector's edition on every game I've ever bought that they've offered for it. And of course, Nintendo. Well, what could you say? Nintendo is like Disneyland for me personally. I love it. But this has been one hell of a show. I cannot thank the chat enough. We did have a few knuckleheads in there. You know, look, guys, I just want to say this. Your opinion matters to me. Okay, it does. It may not be the same opinion in mine. And you know what? That's what we have these talk shows for. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but you just don't have to be a dick about it. So don't do that, especially in my chats. It's actually insulting to me. You're basically slapping me in the face and saying that all the work that I put into these channels and to these shows doesn't matter, that your opinion is more important than mine. And that's a bad precedent to set in your life. So don't do that. Come here, hang out, enjoy the show. If you don't enjoy the show, man, listen, you don't have to be here. Hit the thumbs down button and just move on, bro. If it's not your bag, I'm not insulted. I hear you. But don't come in here and try to ruin the chat. It's not fair. And you really become so an irrelevant human being that don't do that to yourself. Don't lower yourself. Okay, rise up above the nonsense. And of course, I couldn't have done this show at all if it wasn't for Salty bailing my ass out again. Thank you very much, Salty.
I got you.
Of course, I say we because we're doing it again tonight live at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be doing the Saltiest Gaming podcast. Salty, tell everyone where they can tune in for that tonight, because it's going to be a big show. But more importantly, tune in and subscribe to your channel.
That's right. I dropped the link a couple times. Subscribe to my channel, Saltiest Gaming channel. It's just Saltiest Gaming, 2 words. I do gaming news, podcast, game reviews, all that good stuff. The Saltiest Gaming podcast tonight with special guest MrBooMStickXL. Yes. We're gonna have some great episode, great topics that we can touch upon.
A lot of late-breaking stuff that you said.
Yeah, some good stuff going on. And we're going to be making an announcement for some giveaways and all that other good stuff. So stay tuned for that. And what else am I missing? Nothing. The Welsh Gamer, he's on vacation. Some people are like, where's the Welsh? This Saltiest guy, he sucks. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't think anybody's saying that.
He'll be back. He'll be back, folks.
Well, listen, again, thanks so much for bailing me out today. So big up props to you. I have to say thank you for the outstanding and humbling amount of super chats I received today. It is greatly appreciated. Trust me when I tell you. And that's why I respond to every one of the super chats. But if you've noticed, I try to respond to everyone in the chat personally, because I do greatly appreciate you coming and supporting the show. It is a big deal for me. But I want to wish everyone a great Thursday. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe. Be nice to one another. And more importantly, we will see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. Have a fantastic day, everyone. Take care.